Hogstye.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. It is the Hogsty. We are post-draft. We are basking in the post-draft glow on the show.
We have
Everyone's
post-draft clarity.
yes, post-draft clarity. Post-draft, not no blues. Post-draft, no hangover. We're all happy. It was a good draft.
Yes.
I've never had a hangover, so
Well, you wouldn't. Yes.
I wouldn't be
So
able to
Steve doesn't
relate
know
to
about
this.
hangovers. Steve,
No.
they're not fun. I will tell you that.
I knew I would assume they're not fun. I just
Have you ever woke up with a type of a migraine where you just couldn't see straight and you just had to, just get out to the couch from your bed and just relax and hopefully it goes away. You ever
No,
had
I
a
never-
migraine like that?
I've never had a migraine.
Steve never gets sick either. He says.
I never get sick.
I was
Or
trying to
maybe
say sick. I
Steve-
know you don't get sick.
Maybe Steve, maybe you're always actually sick and you just don't know it.
I never get healthy. Maybe that's it.
Right. This is just your constant state and you don't know.
And because I'm so stubborn, I don't care, and I'm just going
Right,
to
exactly.
continue on. Maybe
It
that's...
also might explain some of your curmudgeon behavior sometimes.
It's not possible that I play into the curmudgeon act. No, don't do that.
Oh, well, welcome to the show, guys. I hope you enjoyed the draft. I hope you had a good weekend. It's been we're hitting like the hardest, that weird spring summer season here. So, it's like humid and gross all the time, but it's not quite hot yet. Just humid and gross.
While we're thinking
Yeah.
about it, speaking of, so where we're going from here after we get through draft analysis in the coming weeks,
Right.
we're going to start with our annual position group breakdown series. And this is our series that gives us something to talk about from now until when
Right.
training camp starts. So we're starting, and Dave's going to learn this right now. We're starting with tackles next week, which is Dave's job to write a column on it. So in case he's forgotten.
Yeah, I was looking at it today, and I forgot that I have quarterbacks for the breakdowns.
It's your own fault.
I'm gonna make mine very short, guys. We have Jane Daniels go fuck off. That's all we need.
That's not really the point of the series. The point of the series is to discuss it, but
I know. Well, and we'll get into this. Have we signed any weird undrafted rookie quarterbacks? We'll get into
Yes,
that.
we did.
All right, fun. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the draft, I think, first and foremost, but there's also the stadium stuff. We got a lot to discuss today.
What do you want to do first?
Yes, we
It's
do.
a fun week.
mystery.
I think we'll start with the draft. We're traditional, right?
I'm
No,
very
on the show?
traditional. I don't know
Or do we want to
why
start with
that's
signing
traditional.
a gay kicker?
I don't know if the draft is the traditional thing to talk about, but we can certainly do it first.
I'm all about tradition.
No, you're
you know.
not.
Fiddler on the Roof, all that stuff.
You're the opposite of tradition.
I am. I am the opposite. All right. Well, let's start with the draft. Washington did not make any trades. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that before we go through these players. Are you shocked they didn't make any trades in this draft?
Not really. I mean, you have to have. It has to make sense. There has to be someone who wants to trade with you, number one. And
Sure.
it did sound like Adam Peters said he had offers at times, but
Yeah.
there's a combination of things. It's you have to have someone who wants to trade. They have to be offering a legitimate trade of value, and then there has to be a player there you don't particularly want. And it
Right.
seemed like for a number of these that these were players that, right or wrong, Adam Peters actually wanted. So
Yes.
it didn't surprise me too much.
Yeah, no, I didn't. The only thing that I would have possibly have seen was moving back in that first round. That was I was kind of not really anticipating, but I really thought that was going to happen. But apparently, Connolly was such a high player on their board that they I think it was like 3 different types of potential offers they had, which were good offers to move back, and he turned down every single one of them because they were not going to let Connolly go.
Well, I'm assuming one was the Eagles because we know the Eagles were desperately trying to trade up.
Probably.
Yeah.
And if they fell behind the Chiefs, I guarantee you the Chiefs would have had Connolly anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that you're exactly right there. The other funny thing, and let's talk about Connolly in a minute, that they did the draft day bit, and Cliff wrote down on a piece of paper and handed it to Adam Peters or left it on his desk saying draft the offensive tackle from Oregon.
yes,
That's
That's straight out of like the movie Draft
Draft
Day.
Day.
Right.
Yes.
Now, do you think they had like 8 pieces of paper back there that Cliff Kingsbury like wrote down 8 different
Draft this guy, draft this guy, draft
Right.
this guy, draft
Adam
this
Peters has to go back there, shuffle through. All right, no, it wasn't this kid. It wasn't this kid. Who wrote a kicker? I don't understand this.
Somebody has to be right. They're going to write 32 different names down.
Right.
There you go.
Exactly. That was my thinking. Write down your top 30 guys. It'll be one of them. But it was a very fun moment. But a total surprise, honestly, taking an offensive tackle. Look, I'm not mad. You can draft a big boy for the O-line anytime in any draft, and I'm happy because I'm a big believer in always adding, fat guys to your roster.
Well, see, a pick like Connolly, that works twofold in its offensive line because now obviously we had Tunzel already. Now
Yep.
you take Connolly. Now you take Brandon Coleman. Now you either most likely he's going to kick to the inside. You move him to the inside, and when Cosme comes back, now you relegate Allegretti and Wiley as your backups, which is where they belong.
Right.
And then you move forward. An offensive line, I think, is actually a pretty stout unit. Provided Connolly pans out, of course. But
allow me to spread a little
Rain.
negativity on this.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Only a small amount. Andrew Wiley is actually a free agent at the end of the year, and so. Cosme is not. Cosme signed him through 2020. He's got to actually come back. But for this year, it seems to me that, obviously one of Wiley or Coleman is going to be on the bench. One of them has to be the swing tackle, probably. And so I think the real battle, and no matter what Adam Peters says, I just think Connerly's a guard. Connerly is a guard, or a tackle rather. He's got the size. He's got the history of it. To me, it's not like who's the guard they moved years ago? Yeah, him. I might be wrong, but Connolly just seems like a guard or a tackle. So Andrew Wiley, you've said it, Dave, many times. Andrew Wiley is more effective as a guard, maybe.
Right.
And Coleman, don't know who's better at guard. So I think that is actually the position to watch. Is who's going to the tackles are, no matter what Adam Peters says, tackles are set. And so the question really is who's going to be the right guard, because they're going to put Allegretti in at left guard where he's been.
Well, this is where it gets interesting. If Coleman excels at guard, just in general, not left guard, right guard, obviously your long-term vision is Coleman then probably swings to left guard when Cosme's back and healthy.
Probably. Yeah, realistically.
So why not maybe put Coleman there now, or at least give him that shot, then move Allegretti, or have Wiley and Allegretti fight it out, because these are both hired guns anyway. They're not part of your long-term vision, I don't think, either of them. And I mean long-term, like 3-5 years down the road, I don't see either of those guys being on the roster.
Well, so Allegretti is signed through 2026, and he's got 2 voidable years at the end.
And it's not a huge cap hit.
Well, yeah, but my point is he's got a bunch of voidable years, which if they let him go, is going to affect the team. And so Wiley, on the other hand, is just cuttable, period. And I believe he's older on top of that. So, I would say that unless Wiley just really, really beats him out, clearly and obviously, I think it's going to be Allegretti and Coleman at guard this year, and then they kind of see what happens. Because by the time Cosme comes back, Coleman's in his 3rd year, and they'll kind of know more about him. So I think that's the history. Because I don't think they're going to want to eat these void years with Allegretti's contract unless they have to.
Oh, absolutely. I would understand that too. I would like to put this all in a larger context. This is a good problem to have, where we have
offensive linemen.
We have good offensive linemen. We have to figure out who we should play versus what we were at even a year ago, where it's like we maybe have 4 guys, and I don't know what the 5th guy's going to be or who he's going to be, but we'll figure it out.
They didn't
Like,
really have. They had 4 average guys.
yeah, they
I
had
I
4
was on
average
the
guys.
fact that they may have like 1.5 last year.
Yeah.
I mean, or a year before that, but
Yeah, they had
Tyler
2
Biadasz was the
decent
only
guys
guy
last
who
year.
was the
Yeah.
plus level, and Sam Cosme to a certain extent.
Right.
and
Right.
and it makes a lot of sense what you were saying earlier, Alex, that if you envision Coleman being your future left guard, yeah, you know what? Let Allegretti and Wiley bet off for the right side, and that's who you have there until Cosme comes back.
Mhm.
Because you might as well just get him. You might as well get Coleman ingrained to the position you want him to be for the future.
Sure.
And that to me makes a lot of sense right there.
Yeah.
Except for the
Now-
contract. Again, I mean, Wiley isn't signed past this year,
Right.
so
Right.
just let him go.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, no, yeah, you're right. I get that, but it's I mean, I mean Wiley, we could let him go right now for all I care. To be honest with you, 'cause I think the two, because I mean seriously, the 2 guys, what's the 2 guards that we brought in? One was from Pittsburgh.
Well,
Hendricks,
Allegretti
I
was
think.
from Kansas City, right?
Well, I'm talking about this. I'm not talking about this offseason. I can't remember.
Oh,
the
this
2,
offseason.
Yeah, I can't remember the 2 guards
Well,
we brought in.
They're
One
just
was from
depth guys,
Pittsburgh,
though. They're not anything.
Talking
like-
about Nate Herbig
and
Tim-
yes, from Pittsburgh, right?
and then Tim McKay he's the undrafted free agent. So I think you must be talking about Nate Herbig.
Yes, and quite frankly, I can't see him being that much of a downgrade from a Wiley, in my opinion.
You can't. There's not too farther down to go.
Well,
No, there's not.
here's the thing. I would agree with you when it comes to Wiley playing tackle. I
Yeah.
do think he's a better guard prospect.
He
like,
is.
I do too.
Fits in better.
He is. You're right. I'll give him that. But
And you are talking
I
about
don't
Herbig. He is the guy from the
Yeah.
Steelers.
so
But in terms of, I just wanted to. We didn't really hit this. As much as I wanted to. Connerly as the first round pick. I mean, you gave your opinion, Alex. I love it. I gave this an A+ grade.
Right.
Love. They needed a tackle, desperately. I think he's an outstanding tackle. He can
Mhm.
play left, or he has played some right side. He played it in the Senior Bowl a little bit. Robbie Duncan would say it's harder to go from left to right than from tackle to guard, but I think he can probably pull it off. And now the only negative film I saw, somebody ran over him at the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been Demetrius Knight, I think. Maybe somebody ran over him, but beyond that, there's not a lot. There's a ton of good film on him, and I think it was an outstanding pick. You don't know. You don't need to pass the fans were hooked on defensive end, but they really needed a tackle too.
And look, I think there were guys at end there that if they'd picked, I would be equally happy with. I do think it was a need, and I think there was some talent there, but I understand the team's logic. You have Jaden Daniels, you got to keep him healthy.
Right.
Protect your quarterback. Build a team that maybe can compete with the Eagles defensively, and that starts with just continuously beefing up your offensive line. Now, Connerly, he does have some room to grow. When I look at him, am I crazy? His arms, it looks like he could put some more mass on or arm muscle on. Just a little. His arms look small for his body for some reason to me. And I know the knock against him was he had a half-inch shorter arms than the ideal length or something ridiculous.
Well, I put that in my draft.
Right.
Typically, you want 34-inch arms. Is it 33.5? I think that's, if you have to quibble about that, you need something else to quibble over.
Right.
It's not that big a deal.
Right. It's not like a 3-inch difference.
No, it's not.
Right. 3 inches matters.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I pick came up, I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll go Jahai Campbell. That would have made a ton of sense right there.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking maybe going with Travion Henderson. That made a ton of sense. When they mentioned Connerly, I completely forgot about him being in this draft. In fact, my brother turned to me and was like, "Well, what do you think of that?" And I'm like, I can't argue with that. It's an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And besides, like I told my brother that night, I say, after that NFC Championship game, and you see what you see what the Giants are putting together right now at defensive front. The Cowboys have a formidable defensive front. I'm sorry, man. You have an opportunity to get bookend tackles and then move a rookie who looked good most of the year last year. That's more natural to guard than move him to the inside.
Right.
I'm sorry, but that's a massive win right there going
Well,
forward.
yeah, that's what we were saying.
Yeah.
Brandon Coleman probably wasn't going to work out at tackle. Could he have? Sure, maybe, but the odds were against him.
Right.
And shall we say the disclaimer one more time for all those out there who thought that we were idiots and fools thinking that he wasn't really going to be a tackle? Well, guess what? The GM of the team kind of agrees with us a little bit.
Yeah.
Exactly right. All you geniuses in our comment section who are idiots.
Right. They're going to put him at guard. Now there also, of course, could be a chance Connolly ends up. Okay, maybe he doesn't work out at right tackle, and you have to move him to left guard. I don't know.
No.
Like things
Maybe.
could happen.
I don't know if normally it's good for people to make fun of the people in their comment section, but in this case, ours are just so dumb. I just can't help it every
You
once
love
in a while.
it. You love it. Love making fun of them. I mean,
I'll take their comments mostly, but
yeah. All right. Well, we should move on and talk about some of these other picks, even
Let's
though
do
we
it.
only have 5, so we don't have like 15 to get through. Like
we've had to hurry to get through some of these shows in the past.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott McLuhan, with all your like crazy number of like 4th round picks that you loved. Granted, they all worked out, but that was a long time ago.
They did.
All right, let's move on to round 2. Trey Amos, the cornerback out of Ole Miss. Now, I had to do some inner soul searching because I was mad about drafting corners in general, but I realized it's not Trey Amos's fault. He's not Emmanuel Forbes. Like I shouldn't blame these cornerbacks for Emmanuel Forbes' existence.
I mean, you can blame him. It might not be totally right for you to do so.
It's not right, Steve. I'm trying to be a better
It is.
person.
Just blame him anyway, okay? He deserves it. He's probably done something wrong in his life. Just blame him anyway.
But does he have like chopsticks for legs? That's my question.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's not 6'5" and 120 pounds like Emmanuel Forbes is.
Right. All right. So Amos, they brought him in. They drafted him at 61 overall. Looks like a good corner. I know he played for a while, right? Like he's one of these guys who jumped around the league or the NCAA for a little while. But overall, looks like a solid pick. I'm not going to be mad about it.
So, first of all, what Alex is talking about is he played 5 seasons in college, went from the University of Louisiana to Alabama for a year, and then to the University of Mississippi for 1 season. So he's been around and around. He's been passed around like a. I was about to use a term that we probably shouldn't use on the air. Never mind.
No, don't. Please
insert the word you all know what I was going to say. Insert it here. But here's the beauty about him, I think. So I kind of had the same reactions to you. It's like, they really need a running back. They need an end. They need all these things. They actually needed a corner. Marshawn Lattimore didn't work out last year. Maybe he'll get better this year. He was injured. But even when he wasn't injured, he blew a lot of plays. Don't sugarcoat. He wasn't that good. And for all of Mike Sandersill's gifts, he's built like a slot guy. We've been saying that. Everybody's been saying that. We weren't the only ones. We maybe said it first.
He's smaller. He'll be a great matchup guy on those smaller slots.
On the other hand, Amos is 6'1", 195 pounds. And he can run for being that big. He's 4.43 40-yard dash, not a total burner, but he's not slow. And so this is at best the number 2 starting corner, and maybe Marshawn Lattimore's backup in terms of the team's top corner if he doesn't work out. Because Lattimore is, where I'm going to my chart here, I believe Lattimore is, so his contract is through next season, but he doesn't have a dead cap next year, so they can get rid of him. So if it doesn't work out, then hypothetically you got Amos in there as the number 1 outside corner. So I kind of get it. And I'll shut up. One more thing is Adam Peters made a point of saying in his presser that he had Amos rated way higher than they got him at. And so you got to respect that.
Yes. Yeah, he likes saying that about his second round picks. He said that last year too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, yeah. I think he's got an mo of, oh, all my second rounders I had as first rounders.
Maybe he just says that even though it's not true.
I don't know. It's a good line. It
It
makes
looked
the
to
player
me
happy.
like Amos probably got drafted where most people thought he was going to get drafted.
Yeah. I do like that this guy played 2 years in the SEC. You know, like that he's playing top level football there. So like that's a good sign. You don't worry about a drop off in terms of is the NFL gonna be too big for a kid like that? You know. Um, I worry about guys who jump around to that many teams, but what are you gonna do? That's the league now,
It's maybe
Well,
some
that's
combination of NIL money.
right?
yeah.
You know, who knows?
That's just the state of college football now these days.
That's what I'm
Anyway.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but the one thing I do like about this pick is he's a very good physical corner off the line.
Mm.
He's not a great tackler though, unfortunately. He will do a lot of arm tackles, but then again, he's a corner. You want him to cover receivers, not necessarily tackle running backs anyway. But he's a very instinctive corner, especially in his zone coverages. He understands. He's very good to adjust and adapt to the offense through the course of the game. He tends to do a really good job on actually running the receivers' routes at the time, as he recognizes through the course of the game of what's going on, what the play is being called, the situation, the in-game situation. This is everything that I've caught on a scouting report and everything. I mean, he's definitely a corner that's has a good balance of being aggressive and smart at the same time. So he's not going to give up a lot of big plays because he's too aggressive, but he's also not a real conservative corner either. He's got a really good balance in that, which is what I like the most about him.
But if he is aggressive, wouldn't that lend itself to occasional blown play?
Well, the thing about his aggression is off the line in terms of he can get a little too handsy, so he could draw a lot of penalties that way. But as far as his first step, he's very quick on his recovery speed. So even when he loses a step off the line, he's very quick on the recovery. He does a great job on getting that quick burst down the line. So he doesn't have a lot of blown coverage because of that. But with him being handsy at the line and overly physical, that's where
May
you can
get
see
some
a lot of his
penalties.
penalties. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, look, in the end, I really like the pick. I think it, even though again you had these people online, and I'm sure just in general with our fan base who are like defensive end, defensive end, defensive end. This helps the defense. You need 3 corners because about 75% of the time you're a nickel anyway now.
yeah.
And they didn't have 3 corners that are,
No.
projected
I like
to be
Noah
starting quality.
but
Igbenogany, I think is what.
yeah, I know.
Igbenogany, yeah.
I like Iggy, but
Well, see, the only problem with at that spot at 61, the wanting of an edge rusher and the wanting of a running back, the run went well before all that. There was not a running back you're taking at that spot, and there wasn't an edge rusher that was worth, in my opinion, that pick right there. You just weren't getting them right there. So
that's kind of what Adam Peters was implying.
yeah.
Right.
He didn't really say it like that, but that's what he was getting at.
Yep. So I'm okay with the pick overall.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that this guy ends up being what you said, Steve. He could be our number 2. He's definitely gonna be our number 2 outside guy. Maybe long term he's our number 1.
Yeah, as a backup against Marshawn Lattimore's failure.
Yeah. And worst case, if it's him and Mikey Sanders still as our 1-2, like for a couple of years, I'm not going to be mad if.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Amos has to prove he can play. Somewhere in the back of my head, I think they've drafted a second-round pick that can't play.
I would hope not, but we.
I think they've drafted many that can't play.
Yes.
They've actually had pretty horrible luck with second-round picks. If you really look back in recent history, yeah.
Oh yeah, like for the last decade, it's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to, of course, what was my favorite pick of this whole draft. And you guys
knew. Alex?
What's
that, Alex? What's your favorite pick? Tell us.
Punt returner Jalen Lane.
No way.
Out of Virginia Tech.
Nuh-uh.
Yes. Now, he's more than the punt returner. This kid is Now he said he wants to be Terry McLaurin. He's Santana Moss. If you were to say what's his type, he's a Santana Moss type.
I
I'll
mean,
take
he's
that
a
every day of the
5'10"
week.
burner. He's not Terry McLaurin.
Right. But who was a good little 5'10" burner back in the day?
Santana Moss.
Right.
I'll take that every day of the week.
Absolutely.
When I
Yeah.
look at this kid, that's what I see. He's going to be a natural slot. He's going to be great on a couple gadget plays, but his real talent comes from his punt returning talents, which is just that vision guys have to find holes when everyone's running at him. And that's where his speed comes into play, his ability to find those holes, get open, get past the defense, and break things away. I don't know. Now, his numbers in college, not great, but he played at Virginia Tech where they don't have a quarterback the last few years. So the 466 yards, 538 yards he had those last 2 seasons, that's as much on the fact that Virginia Tech couldn't throw the ball very well.
But let's get to the important numbers, though.
Yes.
39 kickoff returns, 485 yards, 67 punts for 733 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a lot of special teams. He's clearly their primary. Well, first of all, Jalen Lane was at MTSU and Virginia Tech, just for the record.
Right.
In total, so that is over more than 100 kickoffs and punt returns combined. I have to think Adam Peters wasn't kidding when he said this is a top punt returner on the board. I don't think he was being facetious. I think this is why they drafted him.
Right. He was the top punt returner I saw.
Yeah, if he can fill in as like the gadget guy and deep threat, wonderful. Added bonus. But I think they really brought him here because they need a punt returner.
They did.
Oh yeah, I absolutely. I think definitely with the punt return side. Plus, he also gives you a bit of a backup for Samuels if you miss him. Deebo Samuels, if he's out for a game or two for injury, he can fill in those gadget plays that you're alluding to, Alex. And also, it gives direct competition to Luke McCaffrey. And if Luke McCaffrey can't take that next step this year, and he comes in right away and balls out, it kind of gives you a hint of what the possible future of a Luke McCaffrey might be.
It's competition. I'm not willing to write Luke McCaffrey off.
Oh no,
yet.
absolutely
the
not.
kid's not experienced at all.
Right. And we all knew it was going to be at least good full 3 years for
we
McCaffrey.
Did, but I don't know if the fans knew that though. We did.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And another couple things he because he does do gadget plays. He had something like 20 something returns, 22 returns it looks like. Or I'm sorry, 32 rushes on his career too in Virginia Tech. Not returns. He ran the ball 30 something times. So
yes, he had from his yards from scrimmage were 1,171.
Right.
At Virginia Tech.
Yeah. In 2 seasons, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, he's not. Obviously, he wasn't the bulk guy. He wasn't having 1,000-yard seasons. But Virginia Tech is not a good passing school. So.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this pick. I think. I can't remember the last time Washington even had a real threat at punt returner. It's been a long time.
Well, it was who's the kid from about a decade ago? The little bit,
Brandon Banks. Maybe? Is that
was Brandon Banks is about the last one I can think of.
Yeah,
and Brandon was kind of hit and miss, and he lasted about a year, before it fell apart.
Well, he got stabbed, and that ruined his career.
Yeah, it fell apart. He almost literally fell apart.
Right, right. He also weighed he weighed about as much as I did after I graduated high school. So,
although in Brandon Banks's defense, he went to the CFL and had an amazing career in the CFL. Actually,
yeah. He continued his career for another decade there or something.
It's almost like they should have kept him in DC and helped him develop as a punt returner, but I digress.
Yeah. Well, that's not what Washington did.
Washington wasn't about helping players develop.
Right. You got yourself stabbed. That's your fault. We're getting rid of you. That was our culture.
Are you kidding me? Snyder and Allen put together the best possible culture any organization could have ever had to develop anybody. You guys are nuts.
Are you talking about for an AA meeting?
We've had this debate,
What's that?
We've had this debate.
Yes, we have.
I don't. Let's continue. I don't even want to go down this road right now.
No, we're not going to go down that
road. No.
Dave is
All right,
joking for those of you who are brain dead.
Let's
Yes.
talk about another speed guy. Look, Adam Peters has a type, and he likes fast. If you are fast, you are on Adam Peters' radar. Quick Adam, that's what we're gonna call him. Speedy Adam. I don't know.
There's a joke
I'll
in there
workshop a
I
name.
probably can't say.
Okay.
I don't want.
All right.
My mom made me listen to this.
Medrano, the linebacker out of UCLA, he ran a 4.46. So he's a fast guy again.
He had a 38-inch vertical leap too.
Yeah, athlete. Very good athlete.
So Kane Medrano is
Medrano, thank you.
He is not an inside linebacker. This is an outside linebacker at best. He's more of like your hybrid, strong safety, outside linebacker, rusher. That is this guy. And now the beauty is Washington needs a guy like that. 6th round pick, probably not a starter. Unless he's a unicorn. But that doesn't mean he can't make a contribution and become a solid player. And a lot of times these guys who have this level of athleticism don't make it because they're so used to just getting by on their athletic ability that they haven't developed as players. And so let's just hope that's not him. Right. He played at UCLA, big time school, at least on the Pac-10. I just decent. They need a linebackers, decent pick in round 6. Don't love it.
Me,
don't hate it.
Yeah, to me, it just screams a special teams selection with a guy who can come in on nickel packages and so forth to fill in with that and everything. I think that's exactly the direction Adam Peters went with that. Speed, coverage on kickoff, punt, kickoffs and punts, and come in on nickel dime packages on to cover the tight end or run it back out in the. It's just
right.
I don't see like a Pro Bowl type of guy here, but just a really good piece to a deep roster.
Listen,
if
my draft study proved anything, it's that when you a guy in the 6th round, if he can even become a starter at all, that's success.
Right.
We're not talking about Pro Bowl here. I mean, you're talking Tom Brady, and that's it, really. Maybe Tony Romo was below, but really just Tom Brady. So if this guy
Tom Brady,
can come
Tony Romo, Alfred Morris, those are the only 6.
When Tom Brady was or Romo was actually undrafted free agent, was he not?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Right.
If we're talking like 6th round picks, Alfred Morris was one, Brady was one. Even
Alfred Morris didn't. Alfred Morris wasn't a multiple-time Pro Bowler, and he's not at that level.
No, he had like 3 good seasons.
Right. And so if Medrano can come in and be a player and hang around for 5-6 years, that's a success. Right. That's all they're looking for here is to bolster the linebacker room.
Yeah. Yes. You're looking for linebacker depth here. You're looking for a special teams guy. Obviously, that kind of speed with that size, that's perfect for your kick return or kick stopping and run stopping, punt stopping, that kind of stuff.
Punt stopping would be what the NFL has done at kickoffs.
Right. Right. Now, the knock on this kid that I read is that he misses a lot of tackles against the run. He's good in coverage, but like his getting a line on guys, he struggles. So that's what they're going to have to work on with him.
That possibly may be why he is only a 6th round pick.
Right, because those are 1st round pick physical numbers, not 6th round pick numbers. All right, last guy, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the running back that they picked.
It sounds like an accounting firm. The firm of Ja'Cory Krosky and Merritt.
It does. It very much is a accounting firm, a law firm.
Yes.
Yes. Interesting pick in the 7th round. Not because I question it, and it's a good running back. He's got prototypical size and all that. His story about his last year is very unusual. So the reason this guy flew under the radar, he played at Alabama State, I believe it was, the first 4 years of his college career, which is a division. What they don't call it Division II, but whatever it is, the under the BCS.
I think it's what used to be 1AA, which is now called something else now.
Yeah. Is that an HBCU? It might be an HBCU too. I'm not 100%.
It might be. Yeah, Alabama State.
Yeah. So he played there for 4 years. His freshman year, they redshirted him like you do, where you play 4 games, but then you're redshirted.
Yeah.
However, he changed jersey numbers with another player, and that player wearing his jersey got counted against him in his NCAA career. Thus, he played another year at University of New Mexico because of the COVID year. So he had that option. And then when he went to Arizona, he played 1 game, and then the NCAA came in and said, "Hold on. You never redshirted your freshman year, so that you can't play anymore."
That sounds like the most bureaucratic level of bureaucratic silliness I've ever heard.
Pretty
right?
much.
But it's because somebody else wore his jersey number.
That's what I'm saying. It's bureaucratic
Which is
silliness.
insane to me.
Yeah.
Right.
So look,
And they couldn't go watch the video and figure this out. That's the other thing.
it's ridiculous. Like I said, it's bureaucratic silliness. I'm fine with the team taking almost anybody in the back of the 7th round.
Right.
It's a pretty big gamble, and because of what happened, that crazy story. He doesn't really have any film of. He has no film of last year.
He has 1
right.
game. Right.
Yeah, he really doesn't. And so this is a case where Washington's coaches met him, saw him, went and did a deep dive on his old film, and they saw a kid that they think it would be better to draft him here than sign him as an undrafted free agent. It's a little bit of a risk. It's not much of a risk. I'm totally fine with it. They needed competition at the running back room. I don't know what to think about him because he doesn't have any film.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
a new film.
Yeah, this was probably the most intriguing pick of the whole draft for me, because even at Alabama State, he only averaged 3.7 yards a carry when he was out there, amassed a total of 1,053 yards. But when he went to New Mexico, he averaged just around 6.3 yards per carry, rushed for over 1,100 yards, almost 1,200 yards, and of course that 1 game he had in Arizona. He's an average, I think it was 6.4 yards a carry in that 1 game alone.
Mm-hmm.
So he was, but any film or highlight I've seen of him, the one thing I know is that and you look at his scouting report, he's got excellent vision. Mm-hmm. He is a 1-step, 1 quick burst move type guy. I mean, almost like a prototypical zone scheme runner, basically. Once he hits the pocket, finds the hole, he's right through. Doesn't hesitate. Doesn't dance in the backfield. He's been underutilized in the passing games. We have no idea what he's going to be in that aspect of it. But he almost reminds me a lot of a faster version of an Isaiah Pacheco when he came out for KC. He came out of nowhere. And he was projected to be an undrafted free agent, and they took a 7th round swing at him. And you saw what he did right there. Now he's not the battling ram that what Pacheco was, but he's also more elusive than what Pacheco was too. So this is my most intriguing pick of the night of the whole weekend.
I think there's no doubt it is.
Yeah,
that's one of the most intriguing picks of the entire draft, honestly. For day 3.
His athletic profile is way higher than it should be for a 7th round pick. Overall.
He just didn't play a year. That's his problem.
Yeah, exactly. And in a weird way, though, you're telling me there's a young running back who had to sit out a whole year. That means, in my brain, he's fresh. Maybe that doesn't matter long term. If you're thinking franchise running backs, but it means next year we have a back on this roster who's young, has some talent, and doesn't have the wear and tear of a whole season on him.
Yeah. I mean, we need to see if he has NFL talent. We'll learn.
Right.
But yes, no, you're right.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't matter when a guy's 29, but we're talking about a 24-year-old.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens with this kid. If he can contribute more than our number 3 backs last year, that'll be a win. I was really disappointed in the overall performance of, our number 3 guys throughout the season. Honestly,
I think,
and that's the one thing with our running back room. He absolutely has a clear path to sneak into that number 2 role. Yeah, because I mean, Eckler really isn't a number 2 guy. He's more of a situational guy. Mm-hmm. Comes in, passes down, so I don't really consider him like an RB2 in that sense. but he has that chance to really putting a lot of pressure on Brian Robinson Jr. because, I mean, he just wasn't it last year. You know,
I don't know
and then
why
you
Brian
have-
Robinson Jr. is this locked in starter necessarily. What has he done to earn it?
You're right. Absolutely.
Sure. I think, look, if you were to say Robinson and Eckler have their situational roles, one is your power back, one is your receiving back, like those are two very traditional role positions. If this
Right.
if this kid can show up and impress, maybe he's taken a bulk of the carries that are not your first and second down back, and then you decide, all right, it's third and short, putting Robinson, or it's third and medium, putting Nickler, and have somebody who can catch the ball. Like it could be that situation.
Hypothetically.
Yes, hypothetically.
In Alex's rosy world,
Yes.
yeah, that it could happen.
It makes a lot more sense.
I just think the voice of reality here is we really don't know what you're getting with this kid.
No, yeah.
That's reality. And so that's why he went last at the back of the 7th round.
Right.
Yep.
All right, Steve, why don't you run through the undrafted signings real quick, because
Right.
we do want to get to the stadium.
Yeah. Okay. So, undrafted free agents: Tim McKay, guard; Fentrell Cypress, corner; Ricky Barber, defensive tackle; Carlin Vigors with a V, Vigors, for the record, corner; Rob McDaniel, corner; Cam Arnold, linebacker. And then the team also cut Zane Gonzalez, who was the kicker, one of the many parade of kickers last year. Signed a guy named Matt Gay, who has been around for 5 or 6 years. And so
I think longer than that now.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And
He's
they
been around a
also,
while.
sorry, they also signed apparently a quarterback named Colin Schlee. There was a bit of debate as to whether Colin was signed or going to the rookie camp. It was the reporters said he was going to rookie camp. Virginia Tech said he was signed. So I'm counting him as signed for now, but we'll see about it. Clarification. The other name everybody's going to know that's very important. So Gabe Taylor, who is the younger brother of Redskins legend Sean Taylor, was not signed, but he has been invited to rookie camp. Gabe is not his brother. He's not his brother, not his size, not his athletic ability. He was at Rice. But I think I can speak for all Washington fans that we wish the very best for Gabe Taylor, and we hope he makes the roster. I would like nothing better to see Gabe Taylor on the roster.
And for what it's worth, if he went to Rice, that means he's not a total idiot, because that's a pretty good school academically.
I didn't say he was an idiot. I said athletically, he's not Sean Taylor.
No, of course. I'm just saying, academically, Rice is a better school than the University of Miami. Just saying.
Yes. I mean, they may compromise their standards for the football team, perhaps, but certainly he's not dumb if he's at Rice.
Right. Harvard probably compromises their standards for their football team.
Every team compromises. Every school does. I've got news for you.
By the way, you were right. Matt Gay has only been in the league for 5 years, but he's 31 because he's from Utah. So that means he probably, went on some weird mission and started college at like 25. So
something, yes.
Yeah. That weird Mormon age thing that happens. So that's what happened. That's where Matt Gay is. He's a 31-year-old fifth-year guy. But big dude, 231. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a pretty big dude for a punter. And just, kicker. I mean, kicker. And I just want to emphasize, you're going to see Colin Schlee one way or the other. Whether he's on the roster or not 100% sure. I think he is, but not sure. The rest I have no idea who the rest of these guys are. I have nothing to say about them.
So the last thing to, kind of cover where they got to with the draft, it is surprising they haven't made any moves at defensive end. I don't understand how they like what they have as far as pass rush goes right now, but I guess we got to trust the team a little bit here. I don't see them making a move post draft.
I mean, unless they really see something in Baptiste, maybe they think he's going to take that next step, and maybe someone like Zadarius Smith will come in here and fill that void that's now left from Fowler.
Right, maybe. I don't see two good defensive ends on this roster right now, but I could be
I've
wrong.
always used the term plus level.
Right.
And I don't see plus level. I don't see one plus level defensive end on the roster. I mean, you can't
Fair.
fix everything, in 2 drafts. And this is, what can you say? This is a hole.
Yep.
It's going to remain a hole,
Yeah.
for a while.
They can be creative. They can rush linebackers and things like that. I'm not saying they're not going to get sacks, but you're going to have to be more creative to do it. That's all.
Yes.
Oh, I think Chase Young's still a free agent, isn't he?
No, he resigned, I think.
I believe he signed. Thank God. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so let's get to the last.
You laugh at that, Dave, but some people actually wanted.
Oh, there's some people that want him. You're right about that.
Steve, what you mean is there are people who have a bigger drinking problem than me. That's what you mean.
Alex is a boozer.
All right, we got to talk stadium because there's nothing we love more than stadium talk. And the team had their big press conference with the mayor to announce the plan. Now, most of what they announced was the stuff that we had leaked and heard. What was that? 3 weeks ago now, something like that.
Yeah.
So like the financials that we had already heard about, but this was the official press conference, which is a big deal. They leaked some drawings, some plans of like, oh, we're going to do this here, we're going to do this here. Here's where the parking lots will be. This is early. Those drawings will be redone a dozen times. Steve has been involved in this kind of stuff in his life. He knows how many times this stuff changes over the course of negotiations. It still has to get through city council, so that means, and they don't have enough votes right now, one way or the other, in city council. There's half the council's up in the air. There's 4 votes for it, from what they can tell. Anita Bonds, Kenyon McDuffie, Wendell Fielder, who's my council member, they're all for it. There's 2 who are against it, in Charles Allen and Brianne Adu, who is, by the way, from like Michigan, not a local. I'm just gonna put that out there. She's a Lions fan, so I think I'm just saying Lions fans shouldn't get votes in anything.
Shouldn't elect her. She's from Michigan.
Well, she was elected in one of those wards in the Northwest where it's like non-locals live.
Don't blame me.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just saying. The rest of them are up in the air, including the head of the city council. Phil Mendelssohn. Listen, I've listened to every interview about this whole thing with all these elected officials. A lot of the ones who are undecided are like, look, we haven't seen the financials. We need to. There are some things that we don't like that we want to see changed. Like, they would like to see the team say they're going to move their corporate office stuff that's now in Maryland to DC, which would make sense. If your corporate offices right now are
right there. Hold on. Hold on. There's not enough room. Nobody get it twisted. They're not moving the practice facility to downtown.
Not the practice facility.
Right, but they like to have their corporate office at the facility. That is not one. That's a minor point. Number one, if you're just going to move the corporate office, that's just some office space. So what? That's a stupid thing to hold up a deal over. Okay, and there's not enough. There's not enough acreage in this place to put a practice facility and a stadium. Number 2, you don't want a practice facility downtown because you're going to make everybody. The players like to live near the stadium, and nobody's going to live in DC. You know. And so that's not realistic. And I think that's a stupid thing to hold. What is a smart thing to hold the deal up? Let me back up. This is like a $3.8, $3.9 billion project. Okay.
Right.
And so what it is the Harris ownership group will be obligated to build a stadium, build some commercial and residential development in the same area, sort of adjoining the stadium, and the parking. The district, and that's about $2.7 billion. The district hypothetically would be responsible for about $1.1 billion. They've got parking, they've got infrastructure and utilities, and also to build a sportsplex, which I assume is baseball, basketball, stuff like that. Sportsplex.
Well, so that stuff's actually already there. And
they're going to redo it. Okay. I mean,
it was just built 3 years ago. Like
they're obligated. The deal is they're obligated to build a sportsplex. Okay. And so now That's a lot of money. Okay, $1.1 billion is about the limit that a city government can do. They don't know.
Sure.
You may think city governments and state governments have all the money in the world. They don't have $1 billion sitting around. The only way
Hmm.
they can do this probably is to issue bonds. Well, guess what has to be repaid is bonds.
Bonds, of course.
Okay. So you issue $1 billion in bonds and you're talking about what, 50, 60 million as your debt service every year. Where's that going to come from? This is the fundamental complaint that city council probably has, is that it's a lot of
Of
money,
course.
and they should be concerned. The city shouldn't do that. They should not obligate themselves. They should reject it. I would vote against it if I were on city council, no matter what the team wants, because the city should not obligate itself to put that in. The other thing is, this is there's no taxes income. Okay, they've agreed to make this tax the tax exempt. So there's not even that. So I think it would be damaging to the city budget. I think it's a negative to the city, and I think they shouldn't do it. I hate to be a party pooper.
No, I agree with you that like if it gets up to 1.1 billion, that's not great. Their initial projected was more like 500 million on the spending.
It's yeah, but if you
Right.
look at the reality of it, it's a little over $1 billion.
Right. There are things that I think they should that's been stuff that's been discussed that I think is actually idiotic. They want to build a second metro station there,
Right.
which makes absolutely no sense.
That's
Don't
part
do
of the
that.
billion.
Yeah, that's part of the billion. You don't need there is a perfectly good station there. If you want to say we need to freshen it up, maybe. But you know what? It's a metro station.
What line is it on, Alex?
It's on the blue, orange, and silver line. It's a
That's what
major
I thought.
thoroughfare line.
So hypothetically, then they're probably talking about another station to come in from the north on another line or something,
No,
right?
they're literally talking about just building a second station that would end up being a block closer to the stadium when all's
Yeah,
said and
that's
done.
dumb. That's
Yeah.
dumb. Oh, and the schedule, by the way, if any of this approves, here's the schedule. Or if any of this gets approved,
Right.
You will see city council consideration of this in this summer. And
Right.
then summer and fall, then planning starts. Fall and winter of next year, stadium groundbreaking. And then the commercial groundbreaking a couple years later, ribbon stadium opening in the fall of 2030. So if this works, that's what it is. What could happen? I can guarantee you the neighborhood's going to file some lawsuits and they're going to try to get a ballot initiative on the ballot. Alex knows more about city council procedure than I do because I'm in Houston, not DC. And what you
Right.
told me is there's a way for city council to quash that without
Yeah.
too much trouble. They could file a lawsuit and tie things up for a while, and they might lose eventually and something like that, but they can tie up the courts for a while. So I mean, it's not a guarantee, but to me the big thing is there's no way I think the DC government should commit itself to $1 billion. That's just crazy.
I think I agree that $1 billion is way too much, and they need to get that down. That's why I would get rid of the metro station, which is 250 to 300 million of that. Like that's a huge chunk.
It really is a lot. But guys, if you don't know, I do this for a living, okay? The stuff
Right.
like this. And like a lot of times cities will contribute infrastructure costs.
Right.
And so that's not that unusual. But that they're going to be obligated to do so much. Yeah, I would dump the metro station for now at least.
Mhm.
Scale back on some of the commercial, their plans for commercial development, maybe kill that sportsplex. It'd be a lot simpler and a lot cheaper.
Well, so like I said, when it comes to the sportsplex, they built something there. It might have been more than 3 years ago, but it's very new multi-purpose
But
soccer
I'm telling you,
field.
that is a part of it is to build a sportsplex. So they're
Right.
clearly talking about expanding it, redoing it, building another thing. That is a part of what what the deal is here.
And I understand that. I'm saying there's already something there, and it's in good shape. Maybe not pristine and new, but it'll be in good shape in 10 years. It'll be in good shape in 15 years. That's how new it is. So like there are things in there that don't need to be high priorities, is my point. Like
And
this,
to be fair, this is not, this is split up over a number of years. Okay. So
Right.
they may not need to issue $1 billion in bonds right here today.
no, I think it would probably be 200 million a year for 5 years or
And
something.
it's not beyond the realm. It is impossible for them to get money from the federal government for the stadium. That isn't going to happen. That's against the law. They can't. Could they get infrastructure money through some federal programs for surrounding residential developments in the area? Maybe so. Yes. So some of that could maybe non-stadium, but surrounding development maybe be commercial, be federal grant money possibly.
Right.
Not for commercial development, but for the residential part, maybe.
Now, Steve, obviously we can't put numbers on this, but one thing I think that I can fairly say, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Some of this money that we're talking about, some percentage of it, you are going to have to spend no matter what you put there, especially the infrastructure stuff. If we're talking about you have to, no matter what, rip down this stadium. You have to.
You say they, or who are you think?
The city. The city government.
Sometimes projects, they'll make the developer just do all the infrastructure.
Okay.
It's not always like a major project like this. Like I said, probably the city would have some involvement, but in a lot of developments, they put all of it on the developer. And the city may be involved and the developer's paying for it. The city's going to be involved no matter what. But a lot of times the developer's going to pay all this stuff.
Because we're talking
depends
about
on the project.
You need to add roads. You need to rip up the.
Yeah, but even then, sometimes the developer has to eat that. Depends on the project.
Sure. But I'm just saying the level of stuff that has to be done. It has to be done no matter what they're doing. You have to create roads. You have to put in sewer lines for all because there's no sewer lines where those parking lots are.
No, but again, it's not the city wouldn't necessarily have to eat the cost of it.
No, I understand that's what you're saying, but I'm just saying there's the levels of work that would have to be done are there no matter what. Maybe the city wouldn't eat the cost. I get I wouldn't be shocked if the city had to eat some of it with a different type of development project. Just knowing how other things have happened in DC.
Possibly.
We had the wharf, but that was all secretly funded by the Saudis, and no one knows about it. So shh.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. That's why we lost all our great fish market because the Saudis didn't like the smell of fish. So
nice.
But don't tell anybody.
Too late.
But generally speaking, this city will bend over backwards for development because that's what we do.
Okay, so I think if I were invested in this as a fan, I would be concerned maybe about two things. One, if these neighborhoods get a lawsuit that has some modicum of validity to it, at least it's enough to keep them in court for a while. There's not a ton of time for this. They can get this project done in 5 years, but they can't really afford too many years of hangups. And so if I'll take Alex's word for it on the ballot initiatives at city council, but if they file some lawsuits, and they convince the court to keep them around for a couple of years, that could be a danger. The other thing that would concern me off the top of my head is environmental concerns. What the heck is out there and all this thing? I've got one right now that's been delayed 1.5 years, because of environmental concerns that they've known about for years and been doing the right things about. So you go out there in 174 acres in the middle of areas that had never been developed, what's been dumped out there, what chemicals are out there, what environmental concerns are there. You have to clear all this stuff first. So I think, and I don't know what's out. I haven't read an environmental report, okay? I'm just saying, if you're talking about negatives, that's one. Environmental, second thing is potential lawsuits by the NIMBY neighbors.
Right. So I do know some of the environmental stuff here, just because we're talking about my neighborhood, literally. There was the old coal power plant just north of there by the Langston Golf Course.
That is an alarm bells for me. I've seen exactly that.
Yeah.
I held that. This project I'm talking about is not coal, but similar thing.
Yeah. So those wherever a power plant used to be is just a toxic waste dump. We know that. So there's that. At the same time, along the Anacostia River, on the other side of the river, they've been doing environmental studies because they're planning on building beaches along the river now.
That sounds like the worst idea ever.
I don't understand it because I'm not swimming and I love to swim.
No.
Yeah, no.
Dave, would you swim in them?
Anywhere near that. Yeah. No, I wouldn't go anywhere near that. I mean, we got the Delaware up where I'm at right here. Just put a beach right there, right?
Right.
Come on.
If you want to grow a third arm or something, maybe.
Well, no,
swim in
I
it.
want to. I'm gonna go Waterworld, man. I want the gills that Kevin Costner had in Waterworld and the webbed feet, so I could swim really, really fast.
That might do it in the Anacostia River. Come to the beautiful Anacostia River, kids.
Right, right. So they're talking about building a beach there at the same time. So obviously they've done environmental impact studies for those things on the other right across the river.
Just being a veteran of commercial real estate,
Right.
that
I
stuff
understand
Alex
what
is
you're
talking
saying, yeah.
about can potentially hold stuff up for years.
Right.
It just really depends.
It really
Right.
does. I totally get that.
Even the RFK Stadium site itself has been there for what, 70 years? It's 50.
1960 was built, so
Okay, so 65 years.
65 years.
There's no telling what's out there.
Right. Right. And asbestos everywhere because
Absolutely.
that's what
Yep.
everything in 1960 was built with asbestos.
So here's so that's kind of the stadium. We'll have more on this, and we're going to also talk about this on It's Just Business this week, unless Chris Larry is for some reason doesn't want to. So ticket prices.
That now we're getting to Dave's world.
This according to Dave, I don't want to leave Dave out too far out of this. So everybody needs to expect PSLs, and everybody needs to expect massive ticket prices. Josh Harris made a point to say he cares about affordability and blah, blah, blah. It's a line. There may be a few seats in the state. Sometimes teams do not assign PSLs to every single seat. Just
Mhm.
depends. So,
Right.
Dave, your thoughts on prices and impact on fans of this?
Well, it's funny because I got done doing a survey that they sent out to all the fans, and especially season ticket holders. And some of the questions were because I said I'm in the club level seating, blah blah blah, all that stuff, and they said, well, would you be likely to buy a seat that's worth like $5,500 each for $5,500 per seat? And I said no. About $5,000 per seat? No. I kept saying no. It kind of gave an idea of what these seat prices might be when you incorporate the PSLs, because the seats I got 2 seats now in the club level, and they're roughly right about 4,000 for both of them. Now you're talking like 4,000 or 5,000 for one seat in this whole process. Yeah, you're gonna end up pricing me out because I'm not spending $10,000 a year to go to 8 or 9 games. I love going to games. I love the camaraderie, being with the other fans. But
Right.
I mean, even the seats I'm in now, my wife convinced me to get those seats because they were above the budget I had in my mind. But she was like, "But I like these ones better." I'm like, You're not even a football fan," I said, "But I like these ones better." I was like, "All right, we'll go to this one."
And
Yeah,
that's
she
not
just likes the
even
free hot
that's
dogs, doesn't she?
ignoring.
What's that?
I
the
said
free
she just
hot-
likes free hot dogs, doesn't she?
And listen, the PSLs could be thousands and thousands of dollars depending on where the seat is.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, it's expensive.
Right.
It's
Very
a lot of
expensive.
money. Most
I-
people
I-
will be priced out of this. Most
I
average
did
people.
see. I saw someone posted what the PSLs were for the new Bills stadium, or what they're going to be, and it was
Yeah.
$2,500 on the low end, and then I think $8,000 or more on the first tier type
$8,000
stuff.
is in my head. So that's what I would for good seats. $8,000
Yeah.
is in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if
Yeah,
it's $2,500 just for the cheap ones, that's insane.
That's still a lot of money. And that's one
Yeah.
seat, by the way.
For me, I'd want to stay in the club level if I stayed as season tickets, because I like all the amenities to it. But
You
Oh,
may need to
man.
win the lottery.
yeah, no kidding.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't do it.
No,
Look,
I wouldn't. I mean,
I like
even
your club level seats too, Dave. They're very nice.
yeah, they are. I mean, even if I had like all my debt paid off by then, and I just had all this extra money, you know what? I still don't think I'd still be willing to spend that much money for season tickets, to be
I
honest
have
with you.
always said that there is a limit, and it's not very high of what I'm willing to pay for 2 to 3 hours of entertainment.
Right.
Yeah. Which is why Steve doesn't buy prostitutes.
Well, I would argue there's many other reasons why I don't do that, but certainly that would be one of them. We can throw it onto the list.
Besides, it wouldn't be hours and hours anyway. It'd be a lot of money just for a few seconds anyways.
Let's give Steve at least 20 minutes. Come on.
Hopefully we'll never find out.
Hopefully,
I can guarantee you we'll never find out.
We'll never find out.
Yeah, I will never find out either.
All right.
man.
Anything else about the sim we missed? I mentioned the council members who are in and out. So, by the way, if you are local and let's say you want to lobby a couple council members, I can tell you Furman, Parker, Henderson, Bob White, and council member George are the undecideds. I don't. So there's another council member, Travion White, who was kicked out from Ward 8 because he was, caught on camera catching bribes. He's trying to run for re-election because DC's got a huge loophole that lets him still run for re-election.
And the voters don't seem to care by, Marion Barry.
He, I assume, has done the bit where I'm running for re-election. I'm going to have 20-something other people run. So they split all the other votes.
Marion Barry has got to be the most corrupt politician that's ever been elected. And he kept getting elected over and over again.
There's probably dozens of others more corrupt.
Well, here's my
Rob Blagojevich, for example, he's up there.
He's certainly bad. He's up there.
Yeah.
My recommendation to everybody would be to lobby, if you were a voter, your city council member to decline the city's participation. That would be my public funds. That amount of public funds is irresponsible and wrong. That's my opinion. I hate to say it, not trying to be a party pooper, but that would be my opinion.
And my opinion would be,
I think most people agree with you anyway. Even the biggest diehard fan that want that stadium built in there, I think they'd agree with you anyway because it'd be insane.
Well, and to be fair, I'm not a huge diehard fan like we're talking about, either. But yeah,
no. This is where it does get interesting. There were polls done very recently. And it put some of the numbers in there, I believe, in the polls. I don't remember exactly how they phrased it, but they explained the team is willing to pay. I think 2/3 is what it roughly becomes, maybe a little more. And the city will pay whatever's left. And the city support, like in this poll, was like 80%.
Well, it's easy to say now.
Right. It's easy to just say that. And I
the fact
actually
that
one of those
most people
say,
don't understand how financing and this kind of thing works either.
Right. That is what the council members' job are. But I also think there is room for negotiation. I don't think this is an all or nothing, take it or leave it situation right now.
No, it's definitely not.
It's not like the weird thing that happened in Virginia.
It's definitely not an all or nothing situation.
Right.
That's not how these projects work.
No. The council will say, here's like 10 things. Could you do 8 of them? And the team will probably say, sure. And then we'll be good. That's how it usually goes.
Just know that the fans will have to repay Josh Harris his $2.7 billion.
Oh, of course.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and we didn't come up with a number, but they will be selling either Ashburn or Largo, we think, to recoup some money very quickly once this starts happening.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, that should do it on the show, and we will see you all next week. This was our last show, by the way, on Skype. Very sad. We've been doing this show on Skype for 10 years.
Is it really that sad?
I mean, it's sad that we now have to pay.
Of course, 0 fans knew we did this on Skype until you just said it.
No, people probably knew.
No,
they
didn't
can hear it.
No, how can they hear it?
A trained audio professional can hear the difference.
How many trained audio professionals besides you are there who are listening?
Listening, 3.
Right.
I'm gonna say 3 is my number.
Listen, the fans out there think that we work out of a multi-$100 value office up here somewhere.
I've often mentioned our Nashville office. I mentioned our, DC office, but I'm just saying I have no emotional connection to Skype. Unlike
I really don't either. I only have a connection to the fact that we don't pay for it. That's
my biggest connection.
Yeah. All right, guys. We will talk to you all next week.
All right, later.